Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to TraderMerlin Show. It is your weekend edition. Friday it is. Good to see you, Les. Always try to be the first one in the room every day. So good to see you, Les, Liz, Ricardo. Farm bees. Yes, absolutely farm bees. Don't kill bees. Embrace bees. Although I freaked out in the backyard the other day. We're sitting there doing some gardening and a swarm of bees flew overhead. It sounded like just a B-52 bomber above my head. Scared me. But anyway, cheers to the bee farmers out there. Hope you all had a great week. It was a good week. I had some great trades. I had my options expire worthless. So all in all, I don't know. I don't think you could call it a bad week. It was a fantastic week for me. I hope yours was great as well. Let's talk about our markets. And then we'll dive into listener questions. I got a whole bunch to do. Christopher C. Is that my Chris from Fairfax, Northern California? All right. Here's my graphic for today. It was really basic. I don't know. I wanted something simple. I feel like some of the graphics have been rather complex. So I had just kind of a simple background and chart going up because at the end of the day, what a fantastic week. You had the S&P, the NASDAQ, the Russell, S&P, NASDAQ, and the Dow all break through all-time highs. Now, they didn't finish at all-time highs. That's unfortunate. So I'm going to start there. We'll just do our top 7 marketplaces, or top 8, and then I'll go into my listener questions as well. Good, Les. Glad you had a good week. Yeah, it was a fun one. You know, I'll start by saying this. Every Sunday night, I look across the spectrum of all the news that I can tolerate and say, all right, here's the economic stuff, here's the fundamental stuff, here's global issues. What do I think is going to happen this week? And I know that I'm going to be wrong often, right? You're never going to nail exactly how the week goes. But I have to say, this week did almost the exact opposite every single day of what I thought it was going to do. And fine with me. You know, I encourage people to have an opinion about the markets. I encourage people to think, all right, well, I believe this is going to happen. And it's great. Believe whatever you want is going to happen in the markets, whether you're trading Forex, options, futures, cryptocurrencies, CFDs, real estate, beanie babies, I don't care. You have an idea of what's going to happen. The key to being successful at this is that when you're proven wrong and your idea doesn't work, don't hold on to it. Just drop it like a bad habit. Just move on to something else and go with whatever the market gives you. The trades I made this week were outside of following what I thought was going to happen. Again, I thought that the markets were going to sell off a little bit this week, and they didn't. We had a slight down day, but nothing really big. All in all, it was bullish. Now, I'll walk you through the trades I did open today, which I did take home overnight. I have 2 positions, maybe 3. Well, I don't know if the options took them away, but 2 kind of swing trades that I'm taking home over the weekend, which I normally don't like to do, but we'll see how that goes. Chris says, markets are rigged. Of course, you all know that. That's for people who are new to trading, they don't believe the markets are rigged. For those of us who've been doing it a long time, you know they're rigged. It's not a question. It's just, how do I adapt to it? And for those of us in here, I think we have a huge competitive advantage over the big institutions, the big firms. Because it's rigged, because you have such giant deep pockets in Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan and BlackRock, you've got these giant forces, you know, pushing the markets at their choosing, whichever they want it to go. For us, we're all so small, and I'm speaking for myself here. I'm not trading, hundreds of millions of dollars. I'm assuming most of you aren't trading hundreds of millions of dollars as well. I wish you were. Then we'd be on their private yachts and all. But for most of us are trading, a couple $100,000, maybe a couple $1 million. Big Ab, I'll get to my silver in a minute. I'm not liking it because I was just selling puts. I don't have a physical. My physical was all taken away. So now I'm sitting on the sidelines of that silver. Drive me nuts. But when you have these big behemoths pushing the markets, we have an advantage because no one is really tracking my footprints when I'm trading, $100,000 here, $200,000, $300,000. I'm not that big of a player. So I'm nothing to the big guys. So all I have to do is really figure out where they're pushing the markets and ride their coattails. I made this analogy many, many years ago. My students actually made it for me. They call me Zenzade, which means mosquito, which I thought was offensive. But in the trading world, I think it makes a lot of sense. And I told you guys this story before, but I know we got some new people here. I was teaching over in Italy. I was a university professor there, and I was writing in my office, and I scratched my neck like this, and this little mosquito flew off my neck, and it was so engrossed with blood that it couldn't fly. And I just reached out and splattered this thing on the desk. And the analogy for me is perfect because if you're a greedy mosquito, you're probably going to die. right? You're just easy prey for whomever wants to come after you. But my goal every single day, whether that's day trading, swing trading, or even position trading, is to just get a little bit out of those markets, enough to make me happy. I don't need to make $10,000 a day. Granted, I'll have my $10,000 days, and that's great, but that's not what I'm striving for. Just consistently getting a little bit out of that market, enough to live off and have a comfortable life and enjoy the things I want. That's what all of our goals should be. So I even though it is rigged, Chris, I 100% agree with you. It's rigged to a point, and if we understand the mechanisms behind the rigging, then I actually do personally believe we have a competitive advantage over the rest of the marketplace. So Tom says, I would say it's manipulated, not rigged. Yeah, okay. Potato, I mean, rigged and manipulated. Rigged meaning it's going to push it in one way. So yeah, I agree with you both. Let me go into our top 7 or top 8, and then we'll just move on to other stuff. Here's your NASDAQ for today. I had that shooting star on it. Now, unfortunately, I did not short the NASDAQ today. I shorted the S&P, which I will get to here as well. It met my criteria. We talked about some of the numbers yesterday as what I was looking for, and what I wanted for these indexes was to open up above this little red line that I have here, the horizontal one. Get rid of that. And sell off from there. And it did on the NASDAQ as well. So NASDAQ was only down 0.08%, just barely down. On the week, you had a pretty nice gain for the NASDAQ going from your Friday close, which was right around 18,255, to where we closed today. You're looking at a gain of around 2.12% for the week. Great. Do that 52 times a year, you're going to end up with over 100% rate of return on this NASDAQ. We'll see if that happens. It's been a very, very fantastic rally since mid-April. Anyway, that was your worst performer today, down 0.09. The Russell was pretty much unchanged on the day at 0.01. Now, we did the same basic lines that I did for the NASDAQ. The Russell, I was looking for a break below 2,100. We did actually break down below 2,100, hitting an intraday low of 2097, but then rallied right back up and closed pretty much unchanged on the day. So, also posting a nice week for the week with the Russell. Dollar index today was pretty much unchanged, but you had a very ugly picture transpire this week. I was really looking forward to this 105 line holding here, as I am bullish on the dollar. The Fed retiring debt is going to boost this dollar, or at least should boost this dollar higher here, and we did not get that this week. We actually broke down between that below that 105 level, which for me is very important. Now, all of a sudden, it looks like we're going to be challenging these lower lows, which is going to be, let me put a demand zone on here. Bam, bam, draw that out. We tiptoed into that yesterday between 104.12 and 103.89 as being that next area where this will probably have a bounce point. And we'll see. It's still got a nice uptrend going since those lows back in December, but this would be technically breaking a pivot low, and that's not good. That means that uptrend that we were seeing for the past 5 months, it would be officially broken if we get below that low point on this dollar index, which is 103.88. Moving on up, S&P, which I did short today. Hey, John. Good to see you. Hope your trip was good. Does buying debt equal selling dollars? No, retiring debt. So, well, it's not really, that's a good question, Margaret. She says, does buying debt equal selling dollars? No. It's not the selling or buying of dollars. It's the issuance and removal, right? It's a plus or minus to the dollars in circulation, right? So if we look at what happened during COVID, when April 2020 came around, money was just flying out there, right? They were buying all these bonds, pushing yields down, trying to get it to zero so we can, stimulate the economy and get everything back on track. Where did that money come from? It's just a ledger entry. So basically the Fed said, we need to buy, $100 billion a week of your treasuries? We can do that. They just said, we have a ledger here. We don't actually own any money. We just have a ledger. And we'll say we're going to buy $100 billion a week. So every month, let's just make it up here and say there's $400 billion a month being purchased by the Fed with money they don't have. That money technically goes into circulation now, right? They've created out of thin air. And now because they're buying these bonds, the government can now use that money to pay its debt and other things. So now there is technically more dollars in circulation. Now, when the Fed is selling those bonds to the tune of, it was $95 billion a month, I believe now it's down to $55 billion a month based off the last FOMC meeting, that's $55 billion that are being taken out of circulation and put back into that ledger, basically removing money supply. So it's not, buying or selling of dollars. It's literally adding money supply to our economy or removing money supply. If you remove money, that makes the dollar, it creates scarcity. The more dollars they take out of circulation, the more likely the dollar is going to go up, because you have fewer dollars with the same amount of people chasing those dollars, price goes up, right? And that's assuming demand for the dollar stays strong. So great question. I usually get burned doing short close at all-time high. I hope it works out for you. Yeah, we'll see. I might get burned with this one big gap. We'll evaluate that trade here in just a minute. But yeah, it's not looking good so far. Let me run through the top 8, and then I'll go back to the trades I made today. Crude oil continued its... actually, I didn't finish S&P. So with the S&P, it was interesting for me. If you look at this all-time high that we had posted from back in April, I'll put that line up right here so you guys can see that. That was at 5,333.5. Well, we broke above that on Wednesday. We broke above that on Tuesday. Today we did not. So we're still, technically challenged at this all-time high right here. Did we break it? Yes. Did we make a new all-time high this week? Yes. Did we close at an all-time high? Technically we did. For the week, on a weekly candle, this would be closing at an all-time high. However, not a lot of conviction. We rallied aggressively into it, but then I didn't really see much follow through here. So, we'll have to wait and see what next week presents. I was really, I'll be honest, surprised to see this market rally as aggressively as it did based off of that initial PPI number, which came out on Tuesday. That was a very bad producer price index number. And what was bizarre that day, you guys might all recall, let's go look at that S&P chart as we talk about it. Here's your Tuesday candle. When that number came out, here was what the markets look like, right? I was actually bearish, as you all know, and I was ready to take a short below the lows of these two shooting stars right here, spinning tops, whatever you want to call them. Then we got that horrible PPI number, and I'm like, oh boy, this is not going to be good for the markets. And lo and behold, the markets did exactly the opposite of what I thought they were going to do. It did not meet my entry point to go short, so I didn't take the short, and just rallied pretty much the whole day. So that was weird. And then the next day, completely shrugged off the PPI, focused on the CPI, which was better than expected, and markets just went gangbusters, which was probably my best trade of the week. Just a simple, quick little scalp on S&P futures, and I'm still holding UCO long. And then you had the last 2 days here, which showed a little bit of a stall. And as of yesterday's candle there, I was expecting, more of a pullback here today. We did not get that. So I'll show you the entry I made. So, oops, there's your strong close. I have this little red horizontal line here. So this morning, as we broke below it, my alert triggered. I ended up going short, and it worked for a moment, and then all of a sudden we got a real strong close on the S&P 500, which pushed this thing much higher. So right now I am underwater on my short position on the S&P, but I'm not too worried about that. We'll see if we break the all-time highs, and I'll exit that position and take a loss, which won't be too bad. But I was following my rules today. You might look at this little dip down below here and go, well, why didn't I go short at that point? Because that was at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm not going to make trades directionally like that in the pre-market session, and not to mention I was asleep at that moment in time. So, or at least having a nightmare or tossing and turning, whatever. I'm a horrible sleeper. But anyway, that was my position there. So I currently have a short position that I've taken home on the S&P. We'll see how that one pans out, and I'll get to some other trades here in just a second. So crude oil, my next one. I mentioned that I'm holding on to this level here on our screen on CL, which is between 76.80 and 77.93, as being kind of a demand zone here, which has already been tested multiple times here. It's not looking good on the bigger picture. So the more that it attacks this yellow box, the weaker it becomes. The good news is we did get some follow through today. I closed out half of my UCO position yesterday. I have a 36-cent trail stop on it now. I just decided to let it run. So you got my CO, right? That's the ultra short. So today was nice, 1.7% swing to the upside. I'm happy with it. My entry price was $30.29, so we've already up $2 per share on that one, and I'll just let that one run. If we do start to get some momentum here, this could be a pretty nice winner for me. But it was really, based off of crude oil going into the bottom of this zone and making that trade off of there. So that was a pretty decent one, at least for now. We'll see if that ultimately pans out. But barring a big gap down on Monday or Sunday night's open, I should be okay with this one. But we'll have to wait and see how that one. Andre says, sorry, I did not get why you shorted the S&P if the daily candle has not broken that level. It wasn't the daily I was looking at. So I was looking at that S&P, and I had a rule in place for today. So let's go back to what yesterday looked like, right? When we closed the market, we looked like that. That last candle was a fairly bearish candle. So the bottom red line there was 53.15 and a half. So I was using that and said, okay, if I see the S&P start to dip down below 35.15 and a half, then I'm going to be going short. And I did. So there you go. That was my rule for it. Now I got a stop loss, which is going to be above the high price that we established yesterday. So Thursday's session, if I see the S&P break above that high price of 53.49, then I'll just close that position out and take a loss on that one. Where's the CL? Right now, I don't particularly have one. I don't see anything in here. So Margaret says, where's your next CL support zone? You mean below that one? It's going to be down here. Let me zoom in. So if I look for the next support zone, which I'm not too concerned about at this point because I'm more bullish on the oil than I am bearish, if we get down below this upper yellow box, I'll be out of my position already because I have a trail stop on it, and I'll just let that take me out. So hopefully I don't get taken out, but if I do, I'll still take a nice profit on that, barring a huge gap down on the rollover session into Sunday night. We'll see how that goes. Other than that, that's probably the next spot where I would look at targeting crude oil dropping down to, and that level is going to be between 72.75 and 71.40. There you go. That's what I thought you meant, supply zone. So not looking at the smaller time frames because typically I would be looking at smaller time frames. Your high time frame supply zone is going to be 83.81 to 84.46 for me. Right? I know a lot of people draw things in different places, especially when we look at it like this and we go to, let's say, a 15-minute time frame. There's all sorts of little levels that I could pinpoint from in here. And let's look at this one right here. I particularly like this guy right here. And the reason for that is simply the aggressiveness of that move down. So let's go from there to there. I'll have to zoom in to get that one precise, but that would be a secondary supply zone that I'd be looking at. And that is right where I would want to put it. So those are your zones for me, and for the podcasters, I realize you can't see when I say, that's right where I would put it. The numbers on that would be 81.57 to 81.08 for that kind of intermediate supply zone. You don't really get a chance to see that unless you're looking at a smaller time frame. In that case, I went down to the 15 minutes. So there you go, Margaret. Those are your kind of zones I would see on crude oil right now based off of daily and going down to the 15. And I don't really see it having too much of a problem hitting that 81.08 mark, which would be great. Obviously, if it got to 81.08, there'd be some pretty significant gains for my double leverage long, but I really don't want to hold that double leverage long position just because the deterioration that happens in UCO, USO, all those futures created products are not the best for holding long term. All right, we're almost to the top. Third place finisher for today was that 10-year. Nice little bounce up on that daily from the 10-year yield. We saw a yield increase of 1.07%, closing at 4.42. Nothing noteworthy there yet for me. We really got to get above this sideways consolidation we had from Wednesday the 8th through Wednesday the 14th, right? If we get above that, then all of a sudden start to feel good again and feel like that trend is still intact. But we're feeling a little bit weaker than I anticipated on that 10-year over the past 2 weeks. Second place, Big Ab, this is torture for me. Torture. Watching gold and silver, particularly silver. So I have gold long and, physical gold, fine, but I will hold that forever. Just let it stay there. Good morning, future. Good evening, future. Good to see you. I'll hold those gold coins forever and pass them down to somebody if I don't know, someone's going to inherit those gold coins from me because I'm not getting rid of them. Anyway, you had gold rip today, all-time intraday closing high price today. Let me put a line right across that top there. You zoom out here, you're like, hey, we ain't never seen these prices before. $2,417, all-time high closing price, not an intraday high. The intraday high on that was significantly higher going back to your Friday, April 12th close, which brought it all the way up to $2,448. So we're very close to all-time highs on it, but just the momentum looks so strong on this. Fantastic. And of course, when Rob says stay long on energies and metals, I agree. I am 100% behind you on that one. And I'm backing it up with my actions. I'm long gold, I'm long oil. The thing I'm not long on, and really sorry, I hate to curse on a Friday, I'm pissed off about this one. Oh, I was selling those 2350 puts. I wanted back in my silver. I really, really, really wanted back in silver. I mean, you've been hearing me say for a long time, I'm bullish on silver, I'm bullish on silver, but the move that it has made over the past 2 weeks is just jaw-dropping. Like, are you kidding me? You know, I forgot who it was. I think it was Les. And maybe it was, Les, was that you? That was talking about, more solar stuff and that being a big catalyst for silver. I think that's certainly part of it. You know, you have a lot of demand going on for solar products and panels, etc., and that is a major factor in them is silver. We've moved up 20%, almost 21% in the past 10 trading sessions on SLV. Wow. I mean, that's a phenomenal run. We did see something similar back in late March. A nice big rally there, and then the pullback, and then the continuation. So I'm really irritated because I had a lot of silver. I mean, I had buckets of silver, but I've been selling calls against it at levels that I felt was far enough away where it wouldn't get to, and it's just barely been taking me out. So not sure exactly what moved it today, Big Eb. There's all sorts of speculation as to why it moved. The thing is, they say silver miners are tracking metal prices. Who knows? That's the headline that comes up on TradingView. But for me, I think it's just demand, which has been one of the big. It's demand and it's inflation protection, which are two things that are my basis for it. I think people love precious metals. They like silver. They like gold. A lot of people can't afford gold, so they buy silver. And I believe, personally, I like silver better than gold because silver has more utility. It's consumed. It's utilized in products and materials. Not that gold isn't, but silver is much more widely used and consumed as an industrial metal. So I think that gives it its much better. It says solar cells, catalyst. Yep. Might be time to sell some call. Credit spreads on SLV. Might be. Yeah. I'm so bummed. This is just such a phenomenal. Today, you're up 6.39% on silver, just today alone. Man. And then finally, let's wrap up here and so I can get to show you the closure of some of my trades. I've had this line drawn, which was the peak that we saw back in mid-April, which is right at 67,295 on the futures. Now, we rallied up today. We closed just above that level, so that's actually a fairly positive sign. We're up 2.93% today. I'm on the record as being bearish for the next couple of months, bearish to sideways for the next few months. If you talk about the next year, I am incredibly bullish. I believe we're going to see a rally of monumental proportions, but I do think that's going to come after the election when we get a change of leadership and much more talk on the table at Congress, House of Representatives, the Senate about digital assets and its role for the U.S. economy as a job producer, as a technology, and then putting us in the spot of being a leading innovator with digital assets, which you talked to Larry Fink, which I haven't, but I've seen the interviews with Larry Fink, and he says, we're all in on digital assets. To real-world assets is what he's talking about. And in the future, those of us who have bought cars or have bought homes or have bought physical assets, you fast forward maybe 5 years before it's real mainstream, most likely a decade, almost everything we do will be transferable via digital marketplaces. So you want to sell your house, you can just hit a button and sell it yourself on a blockchain in a matter of seconds as long as these parameters are met. You want to sell your car, no longer do you have to fill out the whole pink slip thing and mail it to the DMV and hope you hit that button on the blockchain and that owner transfers instantly to that person and every liability responsibility is gone from that vehicle. A lot of things will be done with real-world assets, and I'm excited for that one. So hopefully we'll see that change happen regulatory-wise at the end of this year when we get our election. So make sure you guys get out there and vote. And let's see, that was my number one. Let me walk you through some of my trades, which will be interesting. As you guys know, I mentioned Cleveland Cliffs. So my CLF trade was funny because I sold the 1750 puts a while back, got some great premium for it. It was really just... I thought it was way higher than it should have been for a big steel manufacturer like Cleveland Cliffs, and I'm okay owning steel. But my puts were at $17.50, so those closed 1 penny out of the money. So someone paid me a whole lot of premium for that security or for the security for themselves, and those expired worthless. Now Rivian, we had that giant fall in Rivian a couple days ago. You go back to that giant spike we had on the 14th, followed by a colossal sell-off on the 15th. We closed at 1050 today. So this will be an interesting one. As I mentioned, I had some options that were supposed to get exercised that did not get exercised. Now, the person who bought these calls from me, so I sold the 1050 calls against my position, which if I get taken away, I'm happy with it. I made a nice chunk of change. I'm good with that one. But that person now has to pay to exercise those options. There's a fee that they'll have to pay to exercise those options and take my Rivian shares. Now, if they buy it at 1050, which is the strike price right now, they would have to pay to have that moved into their account. It's smarter for them to not execute this trade and just buy them in the open market because you can buy stocks with no commissions. But on an exercise of an option, sometimes depending on which broker you use, there is a transaction fee to exercise. So we'll see if I get exercise on Monday. Right now, those should be taken away. I was pretty surprised to see it fall as much as it did. Thanks, Margaret. That was 1 cent. It's actually at the money. So it's right at the strike price. So my shares could be in my account on Monday. They may not. And what I'll tell you this is, if those shares of Rivian are in my account on Monday, I'll look and see what the premium is, and instead of going monthlies, I may actually sell the weeklies on this because it's just the volatility has been so great for Rivian that the premium has been really high. And I normally like to do 30 days out just because it's easier. I can focus on other things. But I may actually start selling the weeklies on this and just continue to generate income on it and lower my cost basis right now, which is pretty low. But we'll see what happens when we get to Monday's session, if I even own it. I'll find out over the weekend if they decide to execute those. What are some other ones I had? I'm long Snow. I still own Snow, and I had this 167.50s calls against my position, so that was just lowering my cost basis. Their earnings are next week, so I don't feel comfortable holding Snow right now on their earnings. The last earnings they had was an absolute disaster. So let me bring up Snow here. You guys can see back here on February 29th, they reported earnings, and it was a gigantic loss. I mean, it was a really big down day for Snowflake. Let me tell you what the percentage down was. It was down 18%. At one point, it was down 21% in that day. It's proceeded to fall all the way to these, over the next week, 34%. It's just not worth it for me to take that risk because I'm long right now. I thought we'd see this recover a little bit. I was actually anticipating some gap fill, but we haven't received that yet. And I'm kind of torn. Maybe on Tuesday, I'll let you guys make the decision for me. There we go. The pressure's going to be on you guys. Maybe I'll let you make the decision for me because look at this price chart of Snow right now. You guys have all been trading a while. What would you say if I had to say, if you were forced to answer this question, right? You're on Merlin's news channel right now, and I said, you got to answer this question for me right now. Are you bullish or are you bearish on Snow based off the technical charts? Right? And there's your picture. I'll leave this here for you guys. You let me know what you think. This isn't just about me talking about what I like. Obviously, I'm long on this one for a reason. But what do you feel like? Do you feel like maybe that they're turning the corner here, that they've stabilized? You think they're going to have better earnings? That's tough. Big Eb says, I can tell you now, bail on Snow. Well, Big Eb already cast his vote. That's amazing that those two puts were so close. I know, right? It's rare you see them that close. I mean, my targeting is pretty damn good. Maya says out. Yeah. The chart looks okay. It feels like we've based. It feels like we've stabilized. It feels like we're starting to trend to the upside. Jimmy says bullish. Andre says buy the dip. But May 22nd earnings come out. Yeah. Let's see. Higher lows, right, Chris? That's the really important part, is that higher lows and higher highs. Bearish, I have Snow too, unfortunately. Trend reversal, up for the demand zone, low on the curve. There you go. I got some OTA graduates in there, right, Rob? So I'll tell you this. If earnings wasn't next week, I would be comfortable selling calls against this, letting it ride, letting it trend. I feel like this picture right here, let me just zoom into that part. I feel like this is the positive piece that I'm holding on to, is this higher highs, higher lows. I feel like it looks pretty good. But you see this E right here for next Wednesday. I've got to close this out most likely. I'm in the 90% category in my mind right now that I'm going to dump it. And Les is correct here. He says, Trend reversal up from the demand zone, low on the curve. That's Rob. And then Les says, inside trend is up, but it is broken pivots, not broken. It looks good, but that earnings is just too much of a wild card. I don't want to be holding physical shares and have another 20% drop in it, right? Tofi says, I'd get out. You can always get back in there. Yeah, exactly. And that's the discipline side of a trader that I think a lot of people take time to develop, because some people are going, why don't you sell the calls for next Friday, because the volatility is going to be huge, your premium is going to be massive. Yeah, I might get a lot of premium, but what happens if this thing drops 20 or 30% again based off bad earnings? Remember, their IPO price, I don't think I have that still mapped out. Maybe I do. Yeah, I do. Their IPO price was this. No, that wasn't it. I forget exactly what their IPO price. I can look that one up for you in a sec, but who invented the curve? Oh, gosh, Margaret, don't get started there. Don't even get me rolling with that one. Let's see. Snowflake IPO price. I always like to look back at an IPO price because that's usually an overestimate from the analyst about a company and its performance. Remember, an IPO, they're trying to get you to buy it, right? They're putting in all this media and all this just bullish stuff to get you to buy into the IPO. The IPO price for Snowflake was 120. So let's go look at the price chart here. Where's 120? Let me take this line off. We'll change this to 120. Come on. All right, we'll go coordinates and make this 120. All right, so that horizontal red line you see on your screen is their IPO price, is 120. Now, of course, they IPO'd back in 2020. Bad time to IPO. Yeah, you are trying to trigger me, aren't you, Margaret? Oh, man. And if I look at where we are right now, it could very easily gap down to 120 on a bad earnings announcement. It would not be surprising to me whatsoever. So I just can't take that kind of pain on this one. I just don't want to. It's just risk aversion. So most likely this will get dumped on Monday, definitely by Tuesday. But was just curious to see what you guys thought, because again, we all have differing opinions. I was surprised nobody mentioned inverse head and shoulder, because if you look at this picture here, you could make the argument that we have. Let's see. Let's draw it right through here, and let's go. Not the best. You could argue that you've got your shoulder, you got the head, you got the nether shoulder, which would give you a target on Snowflake somewhere right around, let me just map this out with a measuring object. If we break that, that puts Snowflake somewhere around 185. And obviously being long Snowflake, I'd love to get to 185, but I can't take that risk. My job is not to make money. My job is to be a risk manager. And I know it sounds weird, but that's how I approach it. Yeah, IPO, thanks, Ganesh. I know it sounds weird when I say my job is not to make money. My job is to execute my plans. My job is to follow my strategies and my rules. And if that makes me money, then that's the reward for doing what I'm supposed to do. So I can't take a black swan event going against me. It'll take away too much profits that we work hard for. So it was exciting. And watch, you know what's going to happen, right? I'll get out on Monday or Tuesday. I'll close my snow. Be like, okay, I'm done with that. And it's going to gap up and jump like 50% in a day. Just to go, oh, Merlin, thought you were so smart. Thought you were a good trader, huh? Here you go. Yeah, there you go. Bear trap worked again, but don't give it back. No, I'm not going to give it back. We'll keep that one. What other trades do I have open that I mentioned with you guys? I talked my Rivian, talked to Cleveland Cliffs. I talked my Snowflake, silver. God, what else do I have? I've got other stuff. I just have to quickly look. I have so many positions open. It drives me crazy sometimes. I'm trying to minimize it and streamline them. So I'm underwater on the S&P 500. What do I have? Oh, Meta. My Meta expired worthless today. My Starbucks expired worthless today. So I had the 150. Let's go to Starbucks here. Yeah, I was a little bit bummed I didn't have more Starbucks. Starbucks, another great day of 3.41%. I sold the 71s, collected great premium as it was just going through this whole panic sell here when people had the giant drop. Great. Just wish I would have actually bought it outright, but I didn't. So those ones expired worthless. And my Meta. I sold some Meta puts as well on that earnings day. And, we've made it past those. So I'll have a whole bunch of free capital. I actually sold the 415 puts on Meta the day it had its big earnings down day, like from right here, and got great premium on that one as well. Okay. Hey, happy Friday, Thomasina. Good to see you. It is a very happy Friday. One of those days where, God, I don't want to jinx it, but I feel like for me personally today, really nothing has gone wrong. So I just jinxed it. My night's going to be so screwed up. Cheers. Oh, man. Yeah, let's look at Boeing. So I'm still waiting on Boeing, Andres. I'm patient. I am the total opposite of what I used to be. I'm still waiting on Boeing. I want it to dip lower. Again, I was going to try to sell that 140s. Right, that was the big zone, but it's not. Doesn't look like it's going to make it. Feels like it's just on a nice little uptrend and moving to the upside. And this is the tough part about being a trader, right? I'm bullish on Boeing. I think Boeing's going to do great over time. I think they're way too big to fail. I think the government will step in and bail them out if the doo-doo hits the fan and they put themselves in a tight spot. It's a question of timing. And maybe I got a little bit greedy, hoping to get that Boeing at 140. And if I don't get it at 140, then fine. But yeah, you're right, Andres. I see you laughing at me. It's okay. I'm not mad. It is what it is. I got plenty of other opportunities out there. Next week, we should all have a really good opportunity with Nvidia. Right, Nvidia reports earnings on Wednesday. And Nvidia's looking great. You got a fantastic double top going right now. You can almost call it a triple top going on Nvidia. Oh, man. I personally won't touch this one unless it has a huge gap down. If it does, then I'll look to buy some outright or maybe even just sell some puts at a lower level. But I don't think you'll see a huge gap down in Nvidia. We'll do a poll next week when we get closer to it. But listening to Meta talk about how many of the chips they're buying from Nvidia, it was thousands and thousands of these chips to power AI. To me, that's going to be the big driver. And I don't even know how Nvidia is going to fulfill all the demand for these chips. Basically, what you end up doing is you raise your prices, because unless you can increase your output of an actual product that you're selling, well, then the other way is just raise your prices to make your profits even better. But the interview, I think it was with Zuckerberg. I forgot the exact number. It was like 20,000 processors they're buying from Nvidia, maybe more than that. I was like, whoa, that is a ton. And of course, you got Meta. You have Apple, you have Microsoft, you have Google, all really heavily hitting on that AI bandwagon right now, which is a bandwagon. But I'll tell you, I'm embracing it. I am, man. Here, for all of you out there how many of you can type in yes or no. How many of you, on a daily basis, go to the internet and go, I got a question. How do I and type it in? Or how do I do this? And what's the remedy for this? What's the best? How many of you do searches like that on the internet? I'm willing to bet it's 100% of you are looking for something. And the thing is, when I go to Google and I type in, I'm looking for this, I now get a list of pages that have information that I'm interested in that might answer my question. So I pay for ChatGPT. I pay $20 a month for the version 4.0. And so my German Shepherd's got a horrible chest infection. His skin is awful. I've taken him to the vet for the past few months. Nothing's working. So, yeah, everybody. If I see nose here, I'm like, okay, Tofi says 100 times a day. I'm right there with you. I'm always like trying to learn stuff, right? Well, get this. If you go to, I did the same question. What steps can I take to, fix a skin rash on my German Shepherd? And ChatGPT gave me a really good answer, which I already knew because I talked to my vet. But then I could interact and I continued to ask questions that probe deeper and deeper and deeper into the exact same topic. And it just felt like I was talking to a professional doctor about how to heal my dog. And I can't get that same thing yet on Google or other search engines. We will soon, right? Microsoft Bing's going to incorporate that in, where it keeps a copy of the thread and just keeps on digging and digging and digging and digging and digging. That to me is really impressive. So the conversations I have with ChatGPT, it's an ongoing conversation, and the AI can review and knows exactly what we've covered and will continue to dig deeper in. It is really, to me, fascinating. So I use omega-3s. He gets fish oil every day. A new one, because this was last night. I was searching for this, and it says he's got a special shampoo that I gave him for his chest. So I'm verifying about, ChatGPT verified that, yep, that's a good way to go. But then it said, it may not be the standalone solution. You should try 100% pure aloe gel or give him an oatmeal bath. So I bought yesterday, actually last night, it arrived today, 100% pure aloe gel, not the powdered stuff. I want to make sure I got organic, authentic, good aloe gel, and I just lathered up his chest with that. But it's like, pretty soon all of our searches will not be, oh, here's a list of all the sites that are talking about what you want. It'll summarize everything for you and engage you in a conversation. It has really been pretty amazing. I love ChatGPT, guys. I don't use it enough because I'm so used to our traditional methods of search. I would like to see ChatGPT incorporated into like a Google Chrome browser or something that I would use on a regular basis and have that same kind of memory and conversation. It's pretty amazing. Avoid that dog park, a good way to... I know, but it's his heaven. He loves going to the dog park. It's I think it's skin allergies. I think it's skin allergies. Let's see. Search and you shall find, but Rob, ChatGPT doesn't say search. ChatGPT is just talk and you will find. Ask the questions, and I always go back and verify later on. Let's see. What do we got here? Michael says LAC. Oh boy. I know your charts, Michael. I know what you like to look for. Michael, the bottom feeder. Okay. So what does he got? Well, Michael, this looks similar to the ones you normally like to look for. So first off, it says Lithium Americas, right? Obviously, lithium is going to play a huge part in the EV space, and going forward, one would assume that lithium is just going to get more and more expensive and more rare. That said, there's something wrong with this company. I don't know the fundamentals. I have never looked at the fundamentals. But just looking at that price chart, if this was a good company, its chart would not look like this. Right? It would not look like this. It would be going the upside. So I don't want to say it's bottom. It feels nice that it's not falling at an astronomical rate. Their last earnings, okay, they actually posted a profit on earnings. So maybe they're turning a corner. It would be too risky for me to make a stab at this one. If I'm going to look at this as a long-term investment, I'd want to look at the fundamentals, which I am not an expert in. I would just send it to Larry and say, hey, Larry, you know it's going to be under 5. That's right, Big M. And it was $4.47. I think lithium is a great play, but you can't buy a company based off its name alone, right? It says Lithium Americas. I don't know what they do. Right? They might do something else. I'm assuming that they're in the lithium space, and hopefully they are. This is a gamble play for me. This is an absolute gamble player for me, where you are taking a huge shot here because that trend is clearly down. It has not turned to the upside yet. Maybe, Michael, if you're going to want to be a little bit more risk averse, at least wait for it to start to fill this gap. So maybe if it gets above $5, then you start to build. Otherwise, I don't see anything technically that tells me this thing's going to go up. So my guess is it'll probably flounder here, if not go down. If it breaks above 5, then there's your buy entry. All right. ChatGPT can act as a tutor with the new version. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I saw a really cool video, guys, where somebody, I think he actually works for ChatGPT. He had taken 2 cell phones, and there were 2 different AI versions. You guys may have seen this on social media. And he says, I'm going to introduce you to another AI program, and I want you guys to have a conversation. And he says it to both of them, and then he says, okay, I'm going to ask you to describe what you see in the room. Go. And so he's holding up the one phone with the AI program, and the AI is like, I see a man with a leather jacket on. He's describing the guy in the room and the surroundings, and the other one is now asking him questions about it. And I thought that was it's scary to see AI learning from each other and feeding each other information. That's crazy. It's HAL in 2001. GM invested $650 million in the company. GM isn't really known for making great investment decisions in the history, over the long haul. So just because that doesn't make it a buy, I would wait for it to turn. And I know that sounds great when you look and say, oh, well, GM put in $650 million. Cool, great. That certainly would be a positive factor, but the price is not positive. Remember, for everybody out here, you're not buying your opinion of a company. How do you make money? You don't make money off of a great company. It could be the greatest company in the world and still go down. Where do you make your money? You make your money off this right-hand column right here, which is the price of the security. Right now it's $4.47. So if you bought this, I don't care what the company does, who they are, who's invested in it. If it doesn't go up in price, you don't make money. So GM, if it did in fact invest $650 million in Lithium Americas, that's a nice, supporting factor, but it's certainly not impacting the price because it's still sideways to down, right? We make money off of buying something at a low price, selling it at a high price, or selling at a high price, buying at a low price, regardless of what the company does or who's invested in it. I have seen amazing companies with huge backings fail, and I've seen dog doo-doo companies, horrible projects, things that are just absolute scams soar to the moon. So yeah, that's a tough one when you look at price charts like this and put your belief systems that, oh, well, GM bought into it, then my money must be good as well. Not necessarily. I mean, look, here's the pinnacle of stupidity. If you look at Pepe Coin, right, this is something that they don't do anything. It even says on their website this is an absolute joke. And the thing has a market cap of billions of dollars right now. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I can go on and on and on. Lori said, I don't trade anything under $5. That's a general rule for me as well, Lori. However, there are certain situations where I look at something and I'm waiting to buy it, and then all of a sudden it starts to turn, like that Lithium America. If Lithium America got above $5, not that I would buy it, but it certainly would become much more appealing at that point because it's already so downtrodden. I mean, that thing looked just absolutely horrible on a price chart, though. Let's look at that again. Let's zoom out to where it started off from its great fall here. This thing was up at 20, 20, 25, 26 bucks. And now you're down at $4. Well, yeah, who wouldn't want to buy it at $4? But you look at the long-term trend, it actually feels like it's right back where it should be at $4. Barring this big, pop here and surge because the whole EV thing boosted the whole industry up and everyone got really excited about it. The news is that they have the largest lithium for EV batteries. Well, let's talk about that for a second. So when you read these headlines, and this I'm not directing this at you, Michael, I'm talking to everybody here. When you read a headline that says something like LAC, Lithium Americas Corp has the largest lithium amount for EV batteries. Who released that announcement? That's usually internal, right? That's usually the company itself is issuing press releases. So we could probably go look up that press release and they're saying these things themselves. It's kind of like the bar, the liquor store in town that says, coldest beer in town. Really? You've gone to all the different beer places with a thermometer and measured that you are, in fact, the coldest one. So if they say they've got all of this, they're the largest in lithium production or have the most lithium, who's checking this? Who's verifying it? A press release by any company, whether it's Tesla, Amazon, Facebook, Lithium America, Spirit Airlines, is generally going to be an enticement article to get you more confident with using their services or buying their stock. So I don't usually look at those kind of headlines and trust them. I believe it's manipulation tactics to get you to buy into the company. Now, they may have a lot of lithium. I don't know. And you're definitely probably much more astute at digging into that and finding out if they do in fact. But remember, how are you going to make money on this stock? You're going to make money if it goes up. And is it going up? Answer is, it is not going up. So there's no reason for me to buy it. You're welcome to buy. I mean, everybody here can make their own decisions. But if I'm looking to make money by going long, it's got to be moving up or coming into a strong area where I say, I want to buy here. Blue Diesel says, EV bubble, it will burst. It may have burst already. And lithium will make more off of equipment and tools and energy storage. Yeah, you look at a lot of these companies. So Lee Automotive, they're another one that reports earnings, I believe, reporting on Monday. Everybody here got caught up in this huge hype of EVs. And a lot of these companies, this is Lee Automotive, here's NIO, right? I'm not charting NIO. Everyone was talking about how great NIO is. Really? NIO was up at 70-something bucks, and now it's at $5? Yeah, that's great. And maybe it makes it. Maybe it makes it. I don't know. Let's go how about this one? Fisker. Oh, no. SFK? No. I got to look at the symbol. They're bankrupt, right? FSRN. It used to be. This is another one that people were really excited about. It had a peak of around $32, and now it's at 6 cents going into bankruptcy. So, just because you think something might be good, and I love Fisker's cars. We talked about this the other day. They're gorgeous. I'm not buying Fisker. I'm not buying anything unless its price is moving up. Do I have Chubb on my radar? No. I do not have Chubb on my radar. I have a hard time buying something called Chubb. Well, is this Yeah, it was FSR, but they changed it, Liz, because it's in bankruptcy or receivership, and now they have the different symbol after it. So, I mean, the Chubb looks amazing. Chubb looks fantastic. I'm willing to bet you he's not buying Chubb right now. He's been buying Chubb, and probably is in it. I mean, this is the type of chart you're looking for if you're bullish on something, just not buying today. You know, I'd wait for some pullback and at a lower price. I'm not going to pay all-time highs to buy a security. Down trading and downgrading from within the institutions. Yep, absolutely, Rob. It's all, as Tom said earlier, it's manipulation. As Chris said, it's a rigged game. And they know that if they do a press release and release it on Yahoo Finance and then they get picked up and go on CNBC and talk about it, they're going to pump their stocks. I mean, how many times has anybody here seen a CEO come on TV and let's say he's on, Joe Kernan with Joe Kernan or Maria Bartiromo or whomever, and Maria goes, Mr. Rothfeld, we know that you're the chairman of XYZ, and we're seeing the price chart not looking so good. There's some issues with China. How is your company doing? What do you think I'm going to do? Am I, as the CEO of a company, going to go out there and say, well, thanks for having me, Maria. It's really a pleasure to be here. I'm really nervous because our company's in really bad shape. I mean, honestly, we've got lazy employees. We've got way too much overhead. Our costs are through the roof. We just fell out of a deal through China because one of our sales guys is a frat boy and got drunk and did something stupid with the CEO of Zhengpeng China. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to make it. They're not going to say things like that. They're going to get out there and go, well, Maria, thank you so much. Yeah, with regards to China, that's a minor hiccup. Those things will get passed. We've got some great representation there. Business is going to be great for us. We're just about to ink some deals with these companies and these companies. I'm going to go out there and I'm pumping, man. They gave the guy, they gave the CEO from Starbucks a whole, lambasting because he wouldn't talk bad about his company. He said we're having the small struggles, but man, people were ripping him apart because he was trying to remain positive. Well, you got to. Maria's my girl. Be careful. Yeah. It's funny because when I got started trading on the trading floor back in 1998, she was great to watch on CNBC. Liked her as well. She's good. Yeah, she's definitely good. She's got so much experience under her belt. Let's see. No backing for Ford Lightning anymore. They're sitting on cars for sale. Man, maybe this is my time, Big Eb, to go buy that Ford Lightning. I like the truck. I don't want to upgrade my truck, but I convinced myself just keep mine. It's paid for. Been paid for since the day I bought it. I paid cash for it, and I will probably just ride my truck into the ground. Why not? What else I got? Kramer has these CEOs on the show all the time. They pump their stuff. Of course. There's no way a CEO, if you were a shareholder of any publicly traded company and the CEO came on a major TV show network and just slammed his company and said how bad. Imagine the Boeing CEO go, oh yeah, well, we've got 10 more whistleblowers. We've already killed 2 of them. We'll see if we can take out these other 10 and make this go away. Otherwise, it's going to be a huge legal poop storm for us here at Boeing and, could really hurt ourselves. He'd never say that, ever. And if he did, you would demand that he be fired. Demand. You want him to lie through their teeth if you're holding their stock, right? There's a clock time in the 80s when the CEO of a well-known jewelry chain in the UK described his goods as garbage. Oh, wow. Oh, man. Yeah. Well, you just never know. It's bizarre, but I believe that these guys on TV are going to say whatever they can to pump their stock. So, all right. Let's wrap up. I didn't plan on doing an hour show today, but here we are yet again. We're an hour show. So Monday, you really don't have any good economic data. You have a couple earnings. I'll bring them up here. I think you've got Lee Motors. You have, who else is on Monday? Toll Brothers reports on Monday, but let me bring it up to make sure I get all those names right because I don't like to be incorrect here. You guys always call me out too often when I'm incorrect. So here's what's happening for Monday the 20th. You have like 471 companies reporting next week. Oh, Palo Alto Networks is one of the big ones reporting next week. That's going to be aftermarket close on Monday. And then you can see a lot of little stuff. There's Li Auto, which is another, one of the big Chinese EV companies. You've got Keysight Technologies as well. And that's pretty much it. So, I had one question I was supposed to get to. I apologize. I want to, gosh darn it. I told you I was going to do that one today, and I didn't get to it. You guys tell me. We're at an hour. Should I answer the question now, or should I save it for Monday's show? Should I do a show on Monday about my opening range breakout strategy, or do you want me to pack it in here in just a minute or two? You guys tell me. Explain XLF. Explain it. It's a hodgepodge assortment, I believe. I want to say 39 different financial firms. XLF. Or I think you're meaning as in like explain the price chart of it, because it just keeps on going. Well, remember, higher interest rates typically mean that banks can make more money. Bank makes more money. So as these yields rise, that's more profit for banks. And that's one aspect of it that I can think of. And, I don't know. It's just a crazy looking chart. Oh, great. Oh, Andre says, from Monday's show, please. Save it for Monday. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, so 1, 2, 3 say answer now. 4 say answer now. I got 1, 2, 3. Oh, man. It's pretty close. I'm seeing more Monday. Let's do Monday. I see more people saying Monday. No problem, Mimi. Always a pleasure having you. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, it's actually from this, I can't pronounce the name right. It's from Shakir. He posted this on YouTube. So I was going to do it today. My apologies. I think we should do it on Monday. We have more time to do it on Monday. So we'll do a show talking about the opening range breakout strategy, or at least the basics of it. I'm not going to get into all the fine pieces things. I can't give everything away for free. But I'll talk about the opening range breakout trade, which was the basis for my trade I made yesterday for the ES, which turned out to be a very simple, easy, great trade on that nice trending day. So we'll save that one for Monday. Thank you guys for voting and making it democratic. Got to do that on these shows. Anyway, if you have anything you want me to discuss next week, I will look at my questions over the weekend. It's TraderMerlin@gmail.com, or as many of you are doing, you're posting on the YouTube channel, which is great. Just put your questions down there, and I will slide them into the PowerPoints here so we have them all juiced up for you, ready to go. That said, cheers, everybody. I hope you had a great week. Go do something fun this weekend. Every day that I go out and do these shows or meet people and live life, it's just you never realize how precious things are. Every day is a blessing. So cheers. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Do something fun you'll remember for the rest of your life. Just don't end up in jail. And I'll see you guys on Monday. Take care, everybody.